You probably spend a lot of time thinking about the feedback that you get from your boss. But what happens when your boss wants feedback from you? Now, don't get me wrong, that's a good thing. It's good that managers are actively seeking information about themselves from their team, but it also raises some valid concerns. How much information do we share? How do we strike the right balance between candor and caution? And does our boss really want to hear those hard truths? Well, if your boss does ask you for feedback, here are some ways to help you craft a more helpful response that won't hurt your standing or your sanity. Number one, prepare before you share. Sure, it's flattering to be asked for your opinion, feels good, but before you jump in, be sure to take the time to reflect on what you'll say, when you'll say it, and how you'll support it. Come with specifics to make that message more constructive and credible. And while you're at it, you might as well go ahead and ask your boss how they'd like to actually receive that feedback. Something like this: I'm really happy to share that feedback with you. I'm just wondering, would you rather have that delivered face-to-face or in writing? Number two, be honest and specific. Candor is kind when it's shared with care. Focus on behaviors and actions and specifics rather than making sweeping personal judgments. For example, instead of telling your boss that he or she is a bad listener, which you probably shouldn't say, you could put it this way: I've noticed that during our meetings, you don't always get to hear from everybody. Or instead of labeling your boss as scattered or unfocused, frame it more broadly. I've noticed that you jump from idea to idea during our brainstorming sessions. Be honest, but not brutally honest. After all, this person is still your boss. Number three, map it out. Find an appropriate time and place where both you and your boss can comfortably discuss this feedback. And while this is probably obvious, don't talk about sensitive issues in front of other team members, and don't share feedback when your boss is stressed or pressured. While you're at it, it's always good form to ask your boss permission to share that feedback, even though there's already a standing invitation on the table. Something like this: you asked me to share some of my thoughts on how you're doing. Would you like to find time to talk about that now or later? And finally, number four, don't play boss. It's tempting to share all the things you'd like to do different or better if you were the one in the driver's seat. Better to stick to observations, not recommendations. We don't always know what our boss is up against, and we don't always realize the demands that they're facing. This feedback opportunity is a chance to be helpful, not haughty. So, if you've got a boss who asks you for feedback, consider yourself fortunate. And if you follow these 4 tips, you'll not only look good, but you'll help your boss do better. Because when feedback goes both ways, both sides win.